This is an oral history interview with John Bavicchi. It's June 30th, 2006. I'm Forrest Larson in the Lewis Music Library. Also participating in this interview is Thomas Magah. It's my honor and privilege to have John Bavicchi for an interview this morning. It's June 30th, 2006. Also here in the studio is Thomas Magah. John is professor of music emeritus at the Berklee College of Music, and Thomas is still currently teaching at the Berklee College of Music as well. John attended MIT from fall of 1940 to spring of 1942, enrolled in course 15, which is business and engineering. He was later a friend and colleague of John Corley, who was conductor of the MIT Concert Band from 1948 to 1999. Before we get into things, can one or both of you briefly explain how your department at Berklee, which teaches classical music composition, how it fits into a largely non-classical curriculum?
Well, just
Yep.
The what's called the classical music department at Berklee is, according to many of my pupils who've come from Europe, one of the best kept secrets in the musical world. Many people, well, the constant question that Tom and I are always asked, well, when they find out we teach at Berklee, is it, oh, I didn't know you taught jazz. And of course, my answer is I don't even know what jazz is, which is another question. But Berklee doesn't stress the classical music department particularly. Mm-hmm. But it's essential if they're going to graduate people.
How does the administration see that as far as fitting into the curriculum, or is it there because they're just supposed to have it?
Well, I think that was probably the initial impetus that caused the composition department to come into being, but it's changed. It's changed over the years because our department has attracted quite a few students. We have approximately near 80 students now who are composition majors, but then there are over 300 film scoring majors, and they have to take all of the composition courses. In order to get the bachelor's degree, they have to take a certain amount of what are called traditional music courses. But yeah, it has expanded, and I believe that it is now the largest. We have the largest faculty of any music school at least in the country. I think there are over 30 practicing composers teaching now in the composition department.
Wow.
Yeah, it's my understanding that Berklee is now the largest independent music school in the world.
Yeah, it's about 4,000 students.
Yeah, not attached to a larger university.
Wow, that's very interesting. Just one more thing. I was looking on the web, and it said that this department was initially started in, to quote from the web, in effort to obtain accreditation so that Berklee could grant music degrees.
That's correct.
Yeah.
When I was hired, I was the second person hired, so that they could have, I suppose what they call core courses. Harmony, counterpoint, conducting, music history.
Right.
Solfege, all of those things which they didn't have before because it was strictly a commercial music school.
Right. Okay. So getting on with the interview more directly here, can you talk about where you were born and the date and all that? So when were you born and where?
I was born in Boston on April 25th, 1922. Which makes me an octogenarian in his fourth year.
So were you born in Boston proper, and you grew up in Dedham?
Yeah, I grew up in Dedham, but for the birth, my mother was sent to the Forest Hills Hospital, which is no longer in existence.
Okay. All right. Tell me briefly about your family, your parents' professions, and how many siblings you have?
Yes. My father and mother were born in this country from first generation from my grandparents came from Italy, one from the Rome area and one from the Abruzzi, and my father was a freelance cellist in Boston.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, he had been gassed in the First World War with the chlorine gas, and it had led to immediate cancer of the liver, and he died at 33 from cancer of the liver caused by the chlorine gas attacks in the war. And my mother remarried one of his
So your father's name was?
Bavicchi.
Yeah, what's his first name?
Alexander.
Alexander.
Yeah,
Okay.
Alexander Bavicchi. And my mother remarried one of his closest friends, and he always maintained that he promised my father that he would take care of us, because she had 3 children, and I was the oldest, and I was 7 years old when he died.
Your mother's first name?
Sarah.
Yeah, and what was her maiden name?
Nolfi.
Okay.
Sarah Nolfi, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
and you were telling me about who her second husband. Yeah.
Yeah, second husband was John Yafola, who was in the construction business, and he did very well. He was a very hard worker, and
was he a contractor?
Contractor, yeah.
Yeah.
Built roads and bridges and anything else that people would pay him for.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in that atmosphere of the construction jobs.
Was he musical in any way?
No.
No.
And as a matter of fact, my mother, in her own gentle way, tried to stop me from being musical because there was no point to it financially. And but I got along with my stepfather very well. And I have
Did he listen to music and go to concerts?
No. Neither one of them. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The only music they heard was music in church, which he didn't go to, but he figured he bought his way into heaven anyway, building parking lots. And through the church, you know. But my mother was stoutly religious till her last days.
So how many siblings did you have?
Well, there were 3 of us by my first father, and 2 with the second.
Uh-huh.
And we all get along. We're all still alive.
Any of them musical?
No.
Well,
let's put it this way. There is some musical talent in my sister and brother, both my siblings from my own father. But they didn't nurture it. My sister was, actually sang quite a lot in school and college. She sang Mozart operas and stuff like that. So
what's her first name? Your sister's?
My sister Palma.
Yeah.
Palma. Palma.
Yeah.
And my brother played the trumpet about as well as I played the trombone, maybe better.
Wow. And what's his first name?
Ferris.
Uh-huh.
And Ferris and I played the trombone and trumpet duets for many, many years until I sold my trombone to study the viola. And Ferris just gave up because he wanted to make money like everybody.
Wow.
May I?
Yeah.
I'm curious about this. So when did you begin taking the trombone lessons, and how old were you?
I took them when I was a sophomore in high school because my piano teacher, my mother, insisted that I have piano lessons.
So you started piano first, right?
Yes. I was studying with a man named Robert W. Gibb, who was a wonderful man, and he conducted the high school orchestra. He said, "I need trombones. Why don't you come learn trombone?" I said, "Okay."
This was in Dedham now.
In Dedham High
Dedham
School. Yeah.
So you started in the music education
Right.
part of the school.
And he remained a lifelong friend, Robert W. Gibb. He used to conduct festivals around Massachusetts, and I would go with him when he. So between him and Corley, I've had a lot of experience with, music ed festivals in Massachusetts.
So how old were you when you started piano?
How old are you when you're in junior high school?
Uh-huh.
12, 13.
12, 13, yeah.
And was it something that was just kind of expected of you to do? I mean, some kids.
Yeah,
just
it was part of the what should I say, the effective life of what my mother thought of people where we lived, and I should study piano.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, the other 2 studied piano too, also I should say. And I never got to be a very good pianist. Beethoven Opus 28 was about as far as I ever got. But I kept the piano long enough to be able to teach with it. But as I got more and more into conducting later, I dropped the piano completely.
So, Ed, was there a point in your musical experiences before college that you were even contemplating a professional musical career?
Well, yes. I must say that the trombone and its limited abilities got me into the world of serious music because of the Tchaikovsky Fourth Symphony. And I couldn't believe that the trombone players could play like that and still be humans. And I think I wore out the 78s. In those days, there were only 78 records.
Right.
And I kept wearing them out and getting another set at $2 a crack, and which was a lot of money then. And I began to write pieces. My first piece was an orchestral piece, and I got the book by Wedge, a harmony book, I think was, and I got an orchestration book by somebody, and I started writing the piece. And I looked at it, I kept them I probably still have them somewhere, although I'm not sure of that, but I think there must be somewhere. I remember I had the trumpets building up to a climax, and they got too high, so I put them down an octave. Of course, which absolutely ruined any climax I might have had. I wrote about 30, before I called it a piece Opus 1, I wrote about 38 pieces. And I went back and have taken some of them to use for, it works since then. But.
So were you working with Robert W. Gibb on these, or just kind of on your own?
Well, on my own, and I'd ask him questions, and he'd laugh.
So with your piano lessons with him, did he give you theory lessons as well?
Yes, yeah. He gave me some, I would say rudimentary theory lessons, and I wrote the class song when I graduated from high school. And he harmonized it, I must say. I wrote the tune. But he never said that. He said that I wrote it all. He lied.
And your high school orchestra, did they play your orchestra piece?
Excuse me?
The orchestra piece that you wrote.
Oh, no.
You just wrote it and, yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
No, it somehow I realized even at that age that this was a thankless task and that nobody cared.
Oh, boy.
So before college, did you sing in choirs or take voice lessons or anything?
I did a lot of singing, but that came after I got to MIT.
Okay.
Because the MIT Choral Society is what got me into the world of choral music.
Okay, we'll get to that shortly. So your decision to attend MIT, and you had a planned career in engineering initially?
Oh yes, I was the eldest son of an Italian family which was in contracting, and as the eldest son I was supposed to be taking over after enough time passed, and so I was to be trained in contracting. So I went to MIT, and I did well in the exams to get into MIT. I didn't have any problem getting in, and mathematics and music are closely allied, And I really wasn't interested at all, but I had no choice. I mean, in those days, one didn't tell your father and mother, well, I'm not going to go to that school because I want to go to another. At least not in my social situation.
Were there any experiences in high school in regards to engineering and science that piqued your interest, that had something that caught your imagination?
In engineering?
In engineering, yeah. Or science or engineering.
Well, I probably will alienate anyone that ever listens to me, but I thought it was the most boring thing I ever did in my life. I couldn't stand calculus, and designing another bridge structure would have sent me insane. I tell you, I didn't like any of it. And the only reason I stayed in it is because I was 1A, and I was able to get into the Naval College training program. So I went 2 more years in engineering before I got to be an officer in the Navy.
Wow. So you you came to MIT in the fall of 1940, and you stayed through spring of 1942. And as I said earlier, it was course 15, which is business and engineering.
Yeah.
At that time, what was its academic and kind of social reputation locally here
Of
of MIT? Some people have described it. I mean, I guess it was known as Boston, or as they called it technology when they said we referred to. There was Harvard, and then there was what they called technology.
Yeah.
Talk about just a little bit about just kind of how people locally saw the school and its reputation and stuff like that.
Well, I think the reputation was strong, but it was strictly engineering and nothing else. The fact that there was any music at MIT at all was a shock to me, and of course I jumped in with both feet. But generally speaking, they didn't even consider MIT when it came to anything but engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So before you came, you didn't even know that there was any music here?
No, I had no idea whatsoever.
Yeah, that's still not uncommon today.
Yeah.
And we'll get more into that.
Another Boston secret.
Yeah, right. So at the time, music and other arts related activities were largely extracurricular. The performing groups were all extracurricular, and there were some music courses offered. There were two courses, which I'll ask you about in a little bit. So there was this organization called the Combined Musical Clubs. Do you remember? They oversaw all the student performing groups.
Yeah, I remember singing in the MIT choral group. Was it called the Glee Club at that time?
It was called the Glee Club.
Yeah.
There's a picture of you in the 1941
there is, yeah.
Yearbook.
Yeah. And I've forgotten, was it Jackson, the conductor?
Yes, I have his name here. Let me just make sure I've got that right. I think it was Henry L. Jackson.
Yes.
Yes.
He was a big man like me.
Or, I'm sorry, Henry Jackson Warren.
Yeah.
Henry Jackson Warren.
And he was, he loved music, and he loved to get people to sing, and that was good. And I jumped in, as I say, with both feet, because it was a musical experience, and the wonderful thing about singing is you can immediately be involved. Yeah. And there also was an ROTC band, which I played the trombone. And I'll never forget the first rehearsal. They played a couple of marches, and there's one, the trombone ends the phrase, pa-pa-da-dum, pa-pa-da-dum, something like that. And there were 5 trombones, and I was the only one that did it, because the other 4 couldn't play. And the young man who was conducting said, could we do that again? And pa-pa-da-dum, and the rest of them. And so he said, oh, I see. He had nothing. It was you wouldn't believe, comparing that with the MIT concert band of years later.
So that was the only instrumental group?
That I knew of. Well, of course, I was a trombonist, remember. Yeah. There may have been some string things, but at that time...
Yeah, I have some other questions about that later on. What kind of functions did the ROTC band play for?
None.
What was its reason for existence?
I don't know. I was supposed to have a Reserve Officers Training Corps. I mean, to have something to do.
So you didn't even play at any kind of military functions or anything?
It wasn't good enough.
The conductor or leader of the group, was that a student?
I don't remember his name, except that he was a very young man. I mean, he was older than me, of course, but he wasn't. He was probably in his late 20s at the time.
So getting back to the Glee Club and just MIT culture at the time, how would you describe student interest in participating in musical groups? Was it something that people really kind of went at, or was there a lot of kind of hard recruiting to get students?
Yes, the latter. Yes, a lot of hard recruiting, like pulling teeth to get somebody to sing. Yeah.
What were the student audiences like for the Glee Club concerts? Was there much student interest?
I hardly remember the concerts, and I'm ashamed to admit it, but I think they did do concerts. I'm sure they did, but I'm sure the audience was not very big. The concerts I mean, it was a couple of years ago, so my impressions, of course, are hazy, but I don't remember any concerts with any full audience or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Among the students, obviously, people came to MIT to study engineering and science. Did you find other students who had just a basic interest in music and humanities? I mean, were those people kind of oddballs, or did you find supportive colleagues for that?
I found a few people who became my friends because they liked serious music. And I remember one guy in particular who really knew the literature pretty well, and I told him that
What was his name? Do you remember?
Oh God, no. That one I would never. Yeah. I remember told him about the Beethoven Triple Concerto and what a good piece it was, and he said Beethoven never wrote a triple concerto because he didn't know enough, you know. But he loved music, and so we were friends. But I never did go and get a recording and play it for him, but. I was much gentler in those days.
Were you involved at all in the administration of the Glee Club and organizing and stuff like that?
No.
No. So you do you have any recollection about what kind of administrative support that it got? Was that always a battle to get money for funding because the conductor was hired and?
I have no idea. I have a feeling that there was practically none.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't imagine that the conductors, either one would do it for nothing, but I don't know.
Right. They were paid. I've seen some annual reports of the combined musical clubs.
$20.
There were dues that were collected from participants, but they also seemed to get a little bit of funding from the administration.
Yeah, but I knew nothing about that.
Yeah. So of the groups at the time, the Glee Club seemed to be the most successful, and it was directed by Henry Jackson Warren. Do you know much about him? Like, what was was he an area professional that was brought in?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, I didn't. I knew nothing about him except that he was a genial man and he seemed to know his business.
Mm-hmm. What do you remember? What his conducting was like? And the quality of the singing and stuff like that. Do you remember the?
Well, I mean, I had nothing to base it on because I wasn't experienced, but he wasn't particularly flamboyant. I thought he was. I mean, he didn't have any histrionics, and he never cursed people out or any of the stuff that choral conductors would love to do sometimes. No, he was just very. I thought very discreet.
Did you find him basically competent though?
Yes, he seemed completely competent to me, and of course I started from nothing, but I did have enough music in me to know that he seemed to know what he was doing, and he knew how to rehearse, which is very important.
Yeah.
Do you remember some of the literature that you were performing?
No, I was thinking about that, Tom. I really don't. Yeah, I don't remember much.
I saw a program from the 1938 concert by the Glee Club, and it was all classical music, including even some Palestrina. And Eleanor Stieber was a guest soloist. When you were there, did you have any outside guest soloists and stuff like that, or was that something really unusual?
That would have been very unusual at the time I was here. Yeah. And but he was good. I mean, for instance, he had me go and sing with the Apollo Club one time because they needed tenors.
And the Apollo Club was?
It's a men's club in Boston. They had a chorus at the time, a men's chorus, and I went there to help with the concerts a couple of times. And he got me a Messiah job in a church one time. He was good guy.
So you got to be a pretty decent, at least, choral singer. Yeah.
Yes, I got pretty good.
And you said you were a tenor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The 1941 yearbook says the principal function of the Glee Club was to provide a musical and social outlet in the form of concerts given in conjunction with neighboring girls' schools. Do you remember doing tours of
Not tours. No, I remember.
or going to like Wellesley and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, home and home.
Did you do any joint concerts with some of the Wellesley chorus?
I believe we did. Yes, I'm vague about it, but it didn't make a huge impression on me. But of course, all the girls did. That. But I've outgrown that.
Do you know if the Glee Club, speaking of repertoire, was it mostly classical, or did you do some popular repertoire as well? Do you remember?
I don't remember doing much popular stuff. I remember doing a lot of classical and maybe some stuff from the Yale. What do they call that? The Yale Songbook.
I forgot what that's called. I know that's right.
We did. If I unless I've confused my decades, I think that was in existence then, and we sang from it.
Right. There was also a collection of MIT songs that were published about that time, or maybe a little earlier. Did you do anything from that book?
It's entirely possible. Yeah.
I should have brought that up, and I could have jogged maybe your memory.
Yeah.
There was stuff written by MIT students.
Yeah.
Do you remember if the concerts were formal affairs, or were they?
I don't think so. They weren't. I never thought of them as real concerts. I think more like a home and home get together.
Yeah. Did you write any music for the group, or do any arrangements?
No. I would never tell anybody that I wrote music at that time. Yeah, because I didn't have enough confidence.
The 1939 annual report for the combined musical clubs talks about the MIT orchestra, and it was apparently disbanded in 1940 due to poor quality and morale. It was a few years after that, was later revived. Do you recall anything about the MIT orchestra and what might have been going on?
If there'd been one, I didn't know about it.
Yeah. There was a dance band called the Tectonians.
I remember hearing about them, but of course I knew nothing.
You never heard the group?
No.
I'm still waiting to talk to somebody who actually heard them.
I must admit, even at that age, I didn't give a damn about music like that. I don't know. What a snob, huh?
So the 1941 yearbook mentions, as they put it, a promising student string quartet. Do you know nothing about that either? There was a group that had a long existence. They started in 1884, and they ceased functioning sometime around 1936. The MIT Banjo Club. Do you know anything about that organization?
No.
I guess they were quite popular. They did tours, quite extensive tours, and were there other musical groups that you can recall that we haven't mentioned?
No, because at that time I was more interested in the track and field team, which I was
involved. Wow.
Oh yes, I may still hold the freshman record for the shot put at MIT. I don't know. I held it for many years. Yeah, I used to throw the discus and the javelin and the hammer and the shot put in meets, and that was a big part of my MIT experience.
My goodness! Yeah. Wow!
Wow! So music was my as always was my motivation, but it was a little bit nascent in those days.
Did you do any freelance trombone while you were at MIT, playing in area groups?
I'm sure I did. I played around quite a lot when people asked me to, but I remember playing for some high school once. I got $15 for it too. I played
that was probably good money at that time, right?
Iphigenia and Aulus or something like. What the hell is that piece? No, I've forgotten. No.
Yeah. Were there other MIT student musicians that you recall that made an impression on you?
No.
Uh-huh. Were there any concerts on campus by outside professional groups that you remember?
I'm sure there were, but I don't
Okay.
didn't know about them. No.
Shortly after your time, there were some funded concerts called the Humanities concerts, and they had professional string quartets come in. That continues in another guise, but it's basically a continuation of that. And there's 3 or 4 concerts in that series, and I wondered if there were any groups like that. You mentioned a fellow student who knew a bit about classical music. How common was it in your experience with MIT students to have any expressed interest in classical music?
It was pretty rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The MIT course catalog from 1940 to 1943 mentions 2 actual courses taught here. There was one G62 History of Music and G63 Introduction to Music. Do you know who taught these courses or anything about them?
No. Did I take them?
I don't know. I didn't get that.
I may have taken them. But I don't remember.
And it also the catalog description has this intriguing thing. It says that many musical illustrations are performed in the classroom, and I'm wondering
who, and but since you don't recall, then ocarina and finger cymbals.
Yeah. So you left MIT, and then you were in the Navy. Were you drafted, or did you volunteer?
No, I volunteered because I was 1A in the draft in the Army. And so I volunteered in the Navy, and then suddenly I had to go find some place to go to school, so I got in October, I got into the Newark College of Engineering for a year. And then the next year I went to Cornell Engineering School.
So I'm not familiar with the draft in 1A. Tell me about that classification.
Well, everyone registered for the draft, and when you were 1A, then you had to go into the Army.
Okay.
It was wartime after all. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
And according to my research, you served 4 years, 1942 to 46, in the Civil Engineering Corps, and you were a lieutenant, and you served in the Pacific Theater.
Yes.
Is anything you want to talk about your official duties and?
Well, I was officially the spare parts officer, in charge of the spare parts for the equipment. And when we were in the invasion of Okinawa, I was put in charge of the Okinawan contingent that worked for us, because I became known as the Gook King, because I got friendly with the natives, which many of my colleagues thought was very suspicious. But I got interested in the Japanese and Okinawan culture and tried to learn the language. And so for me, the war was a very enriching experience, assuming that I got through it, which I did.
Yeah.
A little lucky to have done so, but.
So you were in the thick of a combat, even though you were in a support role.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I unloaded an LST full of equipment in the invasion of Okinawa.
Is, what's an LST?
Well, it's a landing ship tank. It was a big overgrown barge that could carry a whole bunch of tanks and trucks and equipment. And I was in charge of the loading it and unloading it. And that was the 3rd hour of the invasion on the beach. So I was involved.
Wow. Backtracking just a little bit, when you left MIT, were you thinking about a musical career?
No.
At some point? No.
No, I was going to go to work for my father.
Mm-hmm.
So then he said, well, that's good. We'll just get into the business earlier.
So you studied for a year at the Newark College of Engineering in Newark, New Jersey,
Yeah.
And then at Cornell University for 1 year.
Yeah.
Did those lead to any kind of degrees or certificates?
No, I like apparently about 9 hours of an engineering degree,
Uh-huh.
and everyone asked me, why didn't you go back and get it? Well, other things came up.
So tell me about this transition from, let's still sticking with engineering. You were, from what I read, a structural steel designer for a firm called Grossier and Schlager in Somerville, Massachusetts.
Yes, the Grossier and Schlager Iron Works. Yes, I designed the steel for buildings and bridges that they built the prefabricated steel beams, and I worked designing the strength of them and the thickness of the I-beams and all of that. I did the steel for the BU buildings, those little towers. Yeah. I did all the steel for those buildings. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I did the plans for the steel from the architect's drawing.
Gee.
So tell me about this this transition from an engineering career and deciding to pursue music.
Well, for me, it wasn't a transition; it was a realization. I mean, throughout all this, I've been writing music. I've been writing a whole bunch of pieces and I actually got a few songs sung and things like that. And when the war was over and I was still alive, I found out that I could go to school, and so
that was the GI Bill.
The GI Bill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to the conservatory, on the GI Bill.
Right.
And it paid for 3.5 years.
Wow. And you studied with Carl McKinley and Judd Cook.
Francis Judd Cook, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with, I've seen those names, but I'm not familiar with them. Can you tell me just briefly about them and things that you learned from them, memorable things you learned?
Yeah, Carl McKinley was a very expert teacher, a very good musician, organist and pianist, and a very conservative composer, but I learned a lot from him. And Francis Judd Cook was a cellist of sorts, but he was much more esoteric in his musical tastes, and I learned a lot from him too because of his. He was interested in contemporary music in a way that Mr. Carl McKinley was not, and but I ended up getting my degree in theory, not composition, because I didn't want to deal with that so much. I wanted to write my music.
So you were saying that
Francis
Francis Judd Cook was interested in contemporary music at the time. Who were some of the composers that he was interested in?
Messiaen, and he was particularly interested in Messiaen, and Irving Fine, Hill.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you chose New England Conservatory over, maybe any other conservatory or school? Because of the Boston location?
It was in Boston, yeah, and I could live at home and not,
yeah.
So finances were a slight problem because I had given up a good job, and I remember one time with Cook, the reason I went into theory, I was writing my clarinet concerto, which has been played quite a bit.
And that's the one, the clarinet with clarinet and string orchestra. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a place where some background noodling, and he looked at all that and he said, "How did you ever have the patience to find all those notes?" And I said to myself, "Jesus, what a question!" So I was, I didn't figure I was going to stay. I mean, that was a very funny question.
Composition teachers ask really weird questions like that. It turns a lot of people off.
I mean, if I asked one of my pupils that, I've gotten into dotage, I think. I mean, I'm more likely to say, "How come you have so few measures? You had a whole week."
So speaking of that clarinet concerto, you've written quite a bit of clarinet music. Was there a particular reason you wrote a clarinet concerto at the time, and did you have a particular interest
No,
at that time in that instrument?
I'd have to call it fortuitous circumstance, because I became friends with a whole series of clarinetists. And of course, once they found out that I would write a piece that was playable, then they kept asking me. And one of my best friends, a fellow named Ronald White, he was the second clarinet in the San Antonio Symphony for 30 years. I wrote some duets and things for clarinets, and Felix Vesculia I went to school with, and he eventually became the clarinetist, the bass clarinet of the Boston Symphony, and I wrote that concerto for him. And he played it. The first performance was conducted by Roger Voisin in Jordan Hall, because Roger was an incipient conductor, as all BSO players are. And it was great fun. I mean, he was a wonderful clarinetist. And, he taught me something about people who really want to play. I said, after I'd written the piece, I said, let's go over it, and if something's too difficult, we'll change it. He says, oh no, he says, some places are crooked, but that's okay, I'll play them. And that's all he cared. He just didn't care. I mean, because he didn't have, in those days were known as the Mazzeo phones. He kept his own, the regular clarinet. Rosario Mazzeo taught clarinet at the conservatory, and he had all these alternate fingerings for the break between B flat and B natural.
Yeah.
Well, the players called him the Sterling Silver Forest, and they all had to buy one that studied with him, but he didn't play on the thing. Only when Mazzeo was in the room, I guess. But he learned to get around the break without the Mazzeo alternate fingerings.
So that clarinet was it actually structurally different? It had some different keys to.
And he added keys, yes. Selma put it out, and I mean, I don't know if they still sell. I doubt it now that Macceo's dead. I don't think.
I haven't heard about that. That's first.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, for a long time they had to. All those people had to buy it.
Wow.
But he was a fine player, and he was very interested in contemporary music, and he was very, very good to me, Mazzeo.
You want to talk a little bit more about your music you wrote when you were at the New England Conservatory, and fellow students that you wrote for?
Well, a lot of my earlier pieces let me see. I think up to about Opus 15, and about the 38th piece, I finally produced a piece that when it was played, it sounded the way I thought it was going to sound. So I call that Opus 1. I'd written that for myself on the trombone, and a violinist that I was friendly with, and the clarinetist, Ronald White. And we played it, and that's the way I thought it would sound, so I called it Opus 1. And up to about Opus 1 through Opus 15 I did at the conservatory. And I always wrote them for somebody. Yeah. A set of songs I'd write for a singer, and
So there's this book by Howard Pollack on. The title is Harvard Composers, and it's about students who studied with Walter Piston.
Oh yes, Pollack.
And there's a chapter in there about you. And according to his book, he says that you entered Harvard. Well, you were there from 1953 to 56, but you started as a graduate student in musicology, not.
That's all they had. There was no composition degree then.
Oh,
I didn't know that too. Wow.
No, there was no. You studied composition, but there was no other degree.
But he also says that you chose Harvard because Walter Piston was there.
Yes, exactly.
Tell me a little bit about that choice and what you knew about Walter Piston prior to that.
Well, I knew that the Boston Symphony played him all the time, and I liked his music, and he was there. And I knew I had to take a special exam to get in, but I was able to fool them, and I got in. And it was very rewarding to study with him. And I found out later he didn't take people except the 1 year he had to take them, but he took me for 3 more years.
when you heard his music, performed at the Boston Symphony and other venues around, was there particular pieces that stood out in your mind that were of interest to you? Looks like somebody's at the door here. I'm gonna have to turn the tape machine off. All right, to resume here. Pieces of Walter Piston that you had heard locally here, were there ones that really stood out in your mind that grabbed your attention?
Well, yes, I remember his woodwind quintet. I thought it was a wonderful piece, and he did a duet for viola and cello that I thought was sensational.
I've played that.
Yeah,
that's a great piece.
Oh, that's a wonderful piece. And
where did you hear the viola cello piece, the duo? Where did you
well, I heard it in a church in South Boston. I've forgotten the occasion.
Do you remember who the musicians were?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And I remember I was there because of I had a friend who worked for WHDH TV, and he was televising the affair, and the Pistons duet was on it. And it knocked me out. And his Fifth Symphony I'd heard at the time, and I thought it was great. And then, of course, when he finished the Sixth Symphony, I guess, while I was studying with him, and that's an incredible piece. And when I excuse me.
No, go ahead, finish your thought.
And I got very friendly with him, and I used to go to his house, and he was working on his Eighth Symphony, and I found out a lot of things about his compositions methods, which were different than mine, which is okay.
I was going to ask about the Piston orchestral music. Was Kusevitsky championing his music?
Oh, yes.
As well as, of course, Copland and.
Kusi did his symphonies whenever as they came out, they were done.
Yeah. So we having a chance to hear them.
Yeah, and he wrote this. He wrote this piece for English horn, and he thought Louis Spire was one of the greatest instrumentalists that ever lived. And he wrote this piece for him with, golly, my memory. Octogenarian.
As my dad used to say, senior moments.
Yeah, senior moments, yeah.
I had those too, and I'm not senior.
I'm confusing it now with Quiet City of Copeland, but
Yeah.
it wasn't that piece, it was another. But anyway, no, I really wanted to go study with him, and I was able to get there, and musicology was the only thing. But I studied with Archibald T. Davison too, and
Otto Gombosi.
Otto Gombosi and John Ward, and I had a very good experience at Harvard.
I have some more questions about those folks
Yeah.
in just a little bit. So Walter Piston's musical style in the context of his time might be seen as conservative but not reactionary. Particularly if you look at there's people who studied with him, they certainly weren't clones of his style. I mean, they were all over. You have Elliott Carter, Frederick Shevsky, David Berman, Leonard Bernstein, Arthur Berger, Yehudi Weiner, even John Harbison. I mean, they're and that really says something about him as a teacher.
Yes. Well,
You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. He was a wonderful teacher in that he never tried to impose his own style on his pupils. He never made an issue of that, which I'm sure many composers who teach do. And he never set up anything except a problem which you would solve in your own way. And he was very. The only thing he was critical of was sometimes he would be almost cruel. I remember one incident where somebody wrote a piece that was absolutely watered down Rachmaninoff concerto, and he played it for us in the seminar. And I'll never forget. Piston just looked at the score and looked at him, and he closed the score and he said, "Oh, horns in F," and that's all he said. And I've never forgotten that. he seemed to like my music, and but he wasn't I remember I wrote a piece which I had the double basses and the cellos on a different rhythm, and he said, "Well, he said that's mud. If you want mud, that's what you got." I had some wonderful experiences with him. I wrote my second cello sonata, it's in 4 movements, and the last movement is a big fugue. And at the first performance, which was done by a girl named Haller, what was her first name? Christine? No.
I can look that up for you.
Yeah, and we played it at Payne Hall, and he rushed up to me afterwards and said, "It was a great piece if you leave off the last movement." and what's his name from Eastman was with him at the time, looking very bored.
Hanson?
Yeah, Howard Hanson. Yeah.
Wow. So the Pollock book says that you studied choral music with Archibald Davison. What was entailed with that? Was it actual choral conducting and repertoire, or?
It was partially that, but was mostly a survey of the choral literature.
Okay.
For which, I was what's the word? I owed him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I mean, it stood me in very good stead later when I got into conducting so much.
Did you do any choral conducting at Harvard? And how did you?
No.
So
I got my first conducting job was the Canton Choral Society when I was at the conservatory, because my friend John Moriarty, who got well known in the opera world,
right.
Recommended me for that job, and I got it.
Did you have a conducting course at NEC, or were you just learning on the fly like so many musicians do?
I studied with Francis Findlay
Okay.
at MIT at NEC,
Okay.
but he was a kind of a conductor where you didn't do any conducting; you just watched him and listened. I had to conduct once each term, and I swore that if I ever taught a conducting course, somebody would conduct every day. And that's what I did when I was at Berkeley. I taught conducting for many years, and every one of my students conducted every time they came to class.
So, studying with Archibald Davison, you said it was largely about getting to know the literature.
Yes, and he was very good. He covered everything, and for instance, the 2 early Beethoven cantatas, he spoke about them. So I finally did the first one. I copied out all the orchestral parts myself because there weren't any, and I did that cantata, "The Death of Joseph II." I mean, yeah, yes, the Leopold cantata is the one I didn't do. Yeah, and it was because of him, and I learned a great deal about the literature.
Mm-hmm. And you probably learned a fair amount about some of the Renaissance.
Oh yes.
Repertoire.
Yeah, for instance, I did several Dunstable and Ockeghem. I did many early pieces because of him. Yeah.
Prior to that, were you much aware of the Renaissance choral repertoire?
No.
It's such a revelation.
Well, he was a revelation. Yes, he was. That course was amazing.
Wow. The Pollock book also mentions that you studied with Otto Gombosi.
Yeah, Gombosi, I think.
How's that pronounced?
I think he called it Gombosi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Says that you studied. Says you studied medieval music with him.
Yeah.
Tell me about your studies with him and kind of what was involved with that.
Well, his bête noire was the rebarring of medieval music. He felt that the phrases, there were no bar lines, and his whole idea was that, in this course at least, that he wanted to delineate the phrases, but by barring them in contemporary measures. And he would have us all getting a motet and rebarring it, so that he'd give us the music, and then he'd consult what we did with what he did and try to show us why we did it well or not, and that was his whole thing.
So when you're rebarring, were you looking for regular bars, or were you using the bars to delineate phrases, and so that it wasn't the same number of beats in each bar?
Yeah. Well, the first thing was to find where the phrases ended, and then he wanted. He was trying to get regular bars, or sometimes 3/4 bar and a 2/4 bar, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But he felt that rebarring that music would help the more get it performed more often. I think that was what he was after. And he was a very strongly opinionated man, and I enjoyed him, but he was not easy to reach the way Davison and Piston were. I mean, as in conversation.
So his and he was known for this kind of obsession with overall structure of music.
Yeah.
Did some of that kind of stay with you and help you, or did you find you were kind of rebelling against that?
No. I mean the overall structure, and you mean, of course, his form.
Yeah.
And no, it had a big effect on me because when I write, the form is the thing that usually comes first anyway. And my interest in Bartók obviously was because of his use of classical form.
And did he introduce you to Bartók's music? Because he was
Bartók's music. The conservatory where the railroad tracks are now, they used to be houses, and I remember the first time the recording of the Concerto for Orchestra came out, and there was all the smoke from the trains. There was nothing but smoke.
Wow.
Soot. Yeah. Oh, it was something else. It's all so clean now. And there were four or five of us, and they were this new recording on 78s of was it the Minneapolis Symphony? No, Fritz Reiner, and the earliest recording of the Bartók Concerto for Orchestra.
Kusevitsky didn't record that first.
Who?
Kusevitsky didn't record that first?
Because it was written for...
It was written for the Boston Symphony.
He premiered it, right? But he didn't record it. Oh,
no, the first commercial recording was 78s.
Yeah.
And I think it was Fritz Reiner.
Yeah, and that recording is really famous. I forgot the orchestra, but I know that the Reiner recording is considered one of the
first one, yeah.
recordings.
And for many years, until I actually saw the score, for many months, depending on how long... ba 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 da 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 da. They made a mistake. They went ba 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 ba, and I thought that's the way it was, because in those days you didn't go back and do a contemporary piece again. You had one shot, that 4 minutes. So the trumpet went ba 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 ba, and I thought that was in the score. And I looked at the score. What the hell is that? And we found out later that that was a mistake, but they couldn't go back and redo it. Like Piston told me that the Prelude and Allegro for organ and strings, with the E weakness smalls and the BSO, E power big, excuse me. Those two sides were done 10 years apart.
Really?
Because Kusi told them that we could sneak it in at the end of the rehearsal. They snuck in the first 4 minutes, and to do the other side, it took another 10 years before they could sneak in the other side.
Amazing.
Wow. So with back at Harvard with Otto Gombashi, apparently according to the Pollock book, he was an advocate of Bartók's music. Yes,
he was, and but by then I was I was immersed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. What was Piston's attitude towards Bartók?
Bartók, he said you show the influence of Bartók, but it's still you, so it's okay. That's what he told me. And it's undeniable that Bartók's influence on my music around that time is pretty clear. But it is still me, so it's okay.
We'll get into some of those issues in a second interview, because I have some very specific questions about that. Did Piston? What was his take on Bartók? Did he like Bartók?
No, I don't think he liked him very much. I think there's no question he respected him. Piston surprised me. He thought Fauré was a great composer. I mean, he really thought Fauré was his attitude towards Fauré is the same as mine towards Schumann, that people don't understand,
Well, is it a result of Piston's studies in
France
Europe with
Boulanger. And Piston,
who worship Fauré too, didn't she?
Yeah. And when I got the chance to have a lesson with Boulanger, because Piston wrote me a letter when I went to France to sing in that chorus. There was a chorus called the Juliana Chorale, and I was singing tenor. I was one of the four tenors. We did a tour of France.
So tell me about this group. I didn't know you had even gone to Europe and all this. So I had some questions about that. So tell me about this, how you got involved in this group and what the group is about, and then we can ask about Boulanger.
Well, I got in the group because somebody said to me there was this blind man who was putting a group together and they wanted to go to Europe and they needed a tenor badly, and was I interested, and I've forgotten who. But I said sure I was.
So this was a local group that went on tour there.
Yeah. And they used to meet down in a church down Beacons Hill. Wasn't Bud Patterson's church, but some church down there. And Paul Giuliani was a very nice man. He was a blind man, so he conducted like this, But I got the pianist for him too, because he didn't have a regular pianist. I got Tom Crone, who was going to the conservatory with me at the time, and she and I went on the tour with them.
And what's the name of this group again?
The Giuliana Chorale.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that the director's name?
Yeah, Paul Giuliana.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've forgotten what I was going to say.
So then you went on tour.
I went on tour of France, yeah.
Right.
And it was my first experience in Europe. I went over on the SS Maasdam and came back on the SS Maasdam. And you get a Heineken's for 10 cents and a what is the Geneva for 10 cents. So one could get satisfactorily smashed on about $2.
So what kind of music did you sing in that?
Was mostly good. Mostly good. Monteverdi, a piece by Monteverdi. We did a piece by Mozart. Ave Verum or something like that. More or less popular classical pieces, but good music.
Mm-hmm.
And there were no show tunes of any kind.
Any contemporary music or relatively contemporary?
No contemporary.
No.
Renaissance and classical,
Mm-hmm.
and romantic.
Yeah. And then you mentioned that when you were there that you had a lesson or some lessons with
Oh yeah,
Boulanger.
Piston. When I told Piston that I was going, he said that he would write me a letter to take to Boulanger, and so I did, and she arranged to have me have a lesson with her, and I showed her my music.
What came of that? And
well, she spent most of the time talking about how Stravinsky ate an omelet different than other people, and conversing with interruption after interruption in 5 different languages fluently, as far as I could tell, including Russian. And she spent not an hour, but almost 3 hours with me, and she told me that my music needed more calm.
Calm.
But then she said, mostly she talked about Stravinsky.
interesting. So.
And she mentioned Lily a couple of times too.
Oh yes.
Her sister. Yeah.
She was a very vital woman. I could never have studied with her though.
Yeah. About what year is this now?
God,
roughly
55.
So this was
50s.
So this was still when you were at Harvard then.
I was at Harvard, yes.
Yeah. Right. So moving back to Harvard, the topic of Schoenberg in Harvard in 1947, his string trio was premiered there, and apparently Walter Piston copied out the parts for that performance from the score, I guess.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
There's an intriguing thing in the Pollock book. He doesn't go into detail.
In what book?
The Pollock book.
Oh, the Pollock, yeah.
He says that Piston liked to pull practical jokes on people, and there was something that he did to Schoenberg he said at Schoenberg's expense, but he doesn't say what it was. Do you have any recollection what that might have been? I'm just curious what Piston might have done to Schoenberg.
I don't know. He was very good at stuff like that.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you may want to take this off the record, but I wrote an oboe sonatina.
Do you want me to take this?
No,
okay.
but I mean, you can do with it what you want. But I wrote an oboe sonatina, in the second movement, I put con delicatezza quarter note equals 69, and Piston was drinking coffee at the time, and he said, "Oh," and he just burst out laughing, and coffee spewed all over the piano bench because he wanted to discuss how that quarter note equals 69 would affect the course of the music. He got a kick out of it. He loved old fashions. Yeah,
is that right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. When Corley did his Incredible Flutist back in the days when Corley had the orchestra, which was a few years, enough to count. We went out and had drinks with Piston. He got so crocked on old fashions. And he told me about the I don't know if it was it must have been that during that time, because I took him to the rehearsal so he could hear Corley rehearse, and he was telling me about the dog's bark.
Oh yeah.
In there, and that's Boaz Pillar, the bassoon player.
Was that what?
Yeah, because they didn't know what the hell to do to get the dog's bark, and Pillar says, "I'll do it."
So tell me about this. The dog's barking.
Well, Piston wrote a ballet called The Incredible Flutist.
Right.
Yeah. And when it was performed by what's his name at the Boston Conservatory, the Ruth Ambrose and.
Well, you're talking about the dancer.
Yeah.
Oh, I almost had it.
Who was the dancer who did the first?
I don't remember.
Oh God,
I don't.
I
Ruth
remember
Ambrose
that name,
and he were in charge of the dance at the Boston Conservatory for a long time. Anyway,
big name, yeah.
They didn't have a dog barking, so Boaz Pillar said he would do it on the recording.
There's a march, and then at the end, I guess it's like bump, 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 some kind of a thing like that.
And rough,
then rough.
And did he want somebody to play a recording of a barking dog, or somebody to imitate it?
No, it was when the BSO made a recording of it. They needed a barking dog, so Pillar said he would do it. So that barking dog in the recording is Boaz Pillar, the bassoonist. Piston told me about that at one of those rehearsals.
Wow. So it appears that Piston had some kind of an ambivalent relationship with or opinion of Schoenberg's music. Did he talk to you much about Schoenberg?
No, except that I know that he respected what Bartók and Schoenberg had done, but he was not fond of their music. He never mentioned it with love. He just mentioned the effect of it and the seriousness of it.
Mm-hmm.
I know he didn't like it.
Mm-hmm. There were two Piston pieces, I'm forgetting which ones they were, that he tried 12-tone technique. But I don't know the pieces, but according to what I've read, they still have tonal implications. But he had made an attempt to actually try to work with 12-tone technique.
Well, I don't know. Jan Veen, yes. Jan Veen was the dancer.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Jan Veen and Ruth Ambrose, they did the Boston Conservatory, and he was in the first performance. Yeah. He wrote it for Jan Veen.
Oh, it was specifically for him.
Yeah.
I'll ask you later. There's an essay on serialism that Piston had published, which I have not seen yet. I'm going to try to track it down, but we can follow up more later about questions and what he may have discussed with you about serialism. Piston, like many composers of his generation, did formal study in Europe, and they often studied with Nadia Boulanger, or went to Germany and stuff like that. But you actually didn't do that. And because seemed like for a lot of people it was kind of expected after you did graduate study in this country kind of finish up over there. Did you feel any? Did anybody encourage you to do that? Or?
No, I personally I wasn't interested. I felt that I was developing my own style. I didn't feel that I wanted to go and study with anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to write my music and get in the mainstream of life.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't interested in going. I know they all did it. Irving Fine did it. Irving Fine was my sponsor to ASCAP. Those days you used to have a sponsor. He sponsored my ASCAP membership.
Did you meet him when you were at Harvard? And Fine studied with Piston as well.
Yeah. Yes, I met him then.
Yeah.
And he and I got along well, and I liked his music very much. And I performed his music, and I did a choral piece of Pistons one time. What the hell is the name of it? Jesus. Oh God.
Now Fine was teaching at Harvard at that time, right?
He may have been. I guess
there was a period of time when he taught there, but I guess he didn't get tenure because he was Jewish or something like that.
I thought he was teaching at Brandeis at the time. Maybe
later. I think he went
to later.
Brandeis,
okay,
yeah.
but there was a period of time when he.
Well,
taught at Harvard.
he may have been. Things are hazy. Let's face it.
Yeah.
But he was a very nice man, and he and his wife were very pleasant. And when it came up that I wanted to get into ASCAP, he says, "I'll sponsor you." So it was nothing.
He was fairly young when he died, though, wasn't he?
Oh yes, he died of a heart attack. What, at 48 or something?
Was that it? Yeah.
Yeah, he was very young. Yeah. He went to Europe and he died when he was overseas, and it was a shock.
Mm.
Yeah.
This next question is overly broad, and so
It's what?
It's overly broad, but
Overly
I'm
broad,
going to try to ask it anyway. You were people have described pre-American culture, pre-World War II, and afterwards, and what the World War II was brought about a lot of changes musically and artistically, and you were kind of right in the thick of that. Do you have any observations as to kind of what that was and how you saw it and how you experienced it? Did it have an effect on you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, for me personally, all it meant was that I was able to go into music, so it was very important. But the larger picture, I'm not enough of a historian, I think, to contribute.
But did you feel kind of personally as a composer that the kind of the spirit of the times, did it kind of push you in a way that might not have had that?
Well, I guess like all composers at the time, I was just annoyed that people didn't want to hear contemporary music, and I got so almost hated the records, because I knew that had stopped the need for contemporary music, because people could listen to what they wanted to 1,000 times, and they didn't have to have any new music. And so recorded sound was the death knell of a composer's economic validity, let's say. And I was very aware of that, and so I was struggling with that, but so was everyone else. And that might have contributed to the vitality because of the anger involved.
So did you finish a degree at Harvard? Or
no, I never did the German exam. It was musicology, remember? I had to have Italian exam, French exam, and German exam. And I never, and I was waylaid. People had waited around for 10, 12 years to do all their exams. And I only had 3 years when I was going to try and do the German. I was studying German. And John Ward, not the John Ward from Oxford, but John, decided that he would terminate all outstanding language exam requirements, and the candidacy was terminated. Me and about 30 other people all was.
But you were only there for 3 years. Why did he terminate it so quickly?
Oh, but that's it. He decided. I was there for 4 years altogether. And he decided that anyone who had been more than, 3 years, well, it must have been 3 years, because that he did, or maybe that happened after I don't remember the dates involved now. But my candidacy was terminated along with a whole bunch of other people. Some of whom had been waiting 15 years to do their German exam, because it was like the portfolio at Berkeley. It didn't matter if you did it 10 years later. I mean, it was still valid, but not for John Ward.
Right.
Boy, he was... I think more people hated him more virulently for a short time than any man in the academic world. Because he was chairman of the department at that time. The chairmanship rotated. Yeah. Bisson was even chair for a while, but he got rid of it as fast as he could.
I want to ask you about this gentleman, Arthur Farwell, a composer. He was an MIT alum from 1893. Were you familiar at all with his music? He was also he ran this publishing house and printing press called the Wan Press that published only American music. He's a real advocate for American composers, and
No.
I just wondered if you would.
I've never heard of him. That's too bad I hadn't.
Wow. He wrote a lot of music and was
Falwell?
Farwell, Farwell.
Farwell.
And was in his time a national figure, speaking out publicly a lot about what it meant to be an American composer, and that you didn't have to come from Europe in order to be a composer, but also you didn't. His thing was you didn't have to imitate what was going on in Europe, and he was really following in the footsteps of Dvorak's admonition to American composers to be
To use what was here.
to use, and Farwell did a lot of research on Native American, American Indian music. Spent a lot of time actually with him. He grew up in Wisconsin and knew Indians just as a child, and so it was very natural for him to do that.
It's too bad I didn't know about him.
Wow, I was kind of hoping that maybe that you had run across his stuff. See how we're doing on time. Okay. Let's see. There's lots of topics here. When you were coming of age as a composer, the so-called modernist composers of the early 20th century were still new to lots of people at the time. There was Carl Ruggles, Charles Ives, Dane Rudyard, Leo Ornstein, Henry Cowell, and Varese. How can you talk about with your fellow local composers how you were kind of listening to that music and the issues that those composers were and their ideas that they were pushing?
Well, there wasn't at the conservatory, which everything was based on for me in those days. There wasn't the great interest in Ives and Ruggles and all of those people that came on later. They were much more interested in Bartók and Messiaen and Schoenberg and Hindemith.
Stravinsky, maybe too.
Stravinsky, yes, of course, yeah. And what's the word I want? The emergence of Ives and Ruggles, for instance, is much later, as far as I'm concerned. It wasn't a big topic of conversation in those days at all. I mean, a piece like Sun Treader I had no idea existed, and Henry Cowell's, the Banshees, for instance. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know about pieces like that until they made recordings of them.
Wow. Yeah, that seems to other composers and people from that time have talked about that. And it's not that they weren't out doing it, but it looks like they kind of had their own kind of subculture there.
Right.
They knew each other, but
And for instance, if I'd known that if I'd written to Ives I could have gotten a copy of his songs, I would have done it, but I didn't know.
When did you first hear the music of Carl Ruggles?
Oh God. I don't know. I can't answer that.
Does I personally, when I hear your music, I think of Carl Ruggles.
Oh, really?
There's a certain affinity with, strong, bold, contrapuntal lines and dissonant harmony.
Yeah, well, no possibility there.
Yeah.
No, I mean, for me, it's very recent that I've gotten to know Ruggles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, only from the recordings that have come out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And somebody like Cowell. I mean, if it weren't for the recordings, I wouldn't have known his music. I mean, that Ancient Desert Drone, which is so boring, and then the Banshees, which is so interesting. Stuff like that I would love to have heard when I was in the process.
Mm-hmm.
But I was very much I was at a conservatory, let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, after you were finished the conservatory, who were some of the either local composers and other people outside New England that you got to know? You must have had some collegial relationships with.
Well, I met a lot of people. I went to the American Symphony Orchestra League convention every year, and I met a lot of composers. And I mean, people like Peter Menon and Schumann and
Persichetti. Did you?
Persichetti, Persichetti had a huge effect on me. When I conducted the Berkeley Concert Band, I did a Sixth Symphony, and I got to know, because of he was ever president. The West Point Symphony. Who's that? Used to play poker all the time.
It's not Della Gioio, is it?
Huh?
Della Gioio?
No, Della Gioio.
Giannini?
Huh?
Giannini?
No, neither one of those. Much. West
Morton Gould?
Yeah, Morton Gould.
Morton Gould.
Morton talked all the time at the conventions. He loved to talk.
Yeah.
He was a very amusing fellow. Always with a young woman on his arm.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't talking all the time.
Well, no.
So after you were done at Harvard and before you started at Berkeley, tell me about your work as a composer and what you did in employment.
Well, I taught at the Rivers Country Day School for many years, and from there I went to be registrar of the Brookline Music School, and that's where I met John Corley.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's not where I met him. That's where I got to be so friendly with him.
Right. He has a funny story about how the two of you met.
I met him.
I'm curious to hear your version of that. And,
yes, yeah. I put some stuff in a brass quintet, and I sent the brass quintet to, and he told me it was impossible. And then I put it in the symphony I wrote for his band, and the kids were playing what he said was impossible.
Oh, really?
25 years before or something. It's a little joke between us.
Well, the way that John Corley described it to me is he sent the parts back to you.
Yeah.
And then he was playing in the pit for a ballet.
That's right.
And you came up to him and you said, "You're the guy who sent my quartet back."
Yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he loved to tell that story because I'm a large guy and I was looming over the thing.
Oh,
he was playing beside Phil,
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was playing trumpet and Phil was in the band. It was Virginia Williams and Bevy was dancing. It was in the hall they used sometime. What the hell was it called? Jesus. And Jacques D'Amboise was one of the guests. And anyway, yeah. And we decided to have a drink after that.
And then he describes that you went over to, or you two of you got together and he played the Festival Symphony, or some piece that he really struck him as John described it, very bold, strong music, and I guess you were fast friends from the get-go.
Yeah. Well, I wrote the first piece I wrote for him was the Festival Symphony.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But he said that you played some recording of some piece, played a tape or something of one of your pieces that, or maybe you just looked at the score. I'm not sure, but
Well, I hadn't written any concert band music when I
but there was
first
something
met.
that unless his memory was mistaken, but he described going over to your house and listening to some recording of your music that that really struck him as
Might have been my toccata or something like that. Yeah.
Wow. You got some questions?
Yeah, I when we've been talking about the Harvard, your Harvard experience there, not too long ago, John, you told me about an interview that you conducted on the Harvard radio station.
Oh yeah, I had a program at WHRB.
Yeah, and maybe you'd like to talk a little bit about about the visitor that came from Russia.
Yeah, the Shostakovich and Khrennikov and Kabalevsky came on an American tour, and the BSO was doing their music, and the HRB sent me over to get an interview with Shostakovich, and it was arranged. I went over to the Copley Plaza to do an interview with Shostakovich, only to find out that I had to have the interview with Kabalevsky, who was the leader of the expedition, and I wasn't allowed to talk to Dmitri.
Oh, you weren't allowed to talk to him.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And Dmitri was around, but he kept crawling around a wall like a scared rabbit. I couldn't get over it.
Poor guy. Hmm.
And I talked to Kabalevsky, and I made up some questions, and I have a transcript of that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But was he conversing in English, or was it the translator there?
No, he was conversing in English. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I later did an interview with who was it? Poulenc? And would somebody translated, although he understood the English very perfectly well. I think it was Poulenc.
And were you, these programs, were you part of a staff?
Well, I had an hour-long program about contemporary music every week on WHRB. And what I did is to talk about the pieces, and I'd bring in a clarinetist to talk about what the contemporary composers had done and what was difficult, and it was a lot of fun. And I'd get an interview with the composer or with the conductor that I could whenever I could. And I'm sure Piston came on that thing for me, and Fine may have. I don't remember.
Yeah. How long did you do that program?
At least a year, maybe 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't remember. Gets all hazy.
So it was a way for you to get to know the Boston area composers probably pretty well then.
Yes, yeah, I got to know a lot of people, and I wish my memory of names is as good as it used to be, even though it was bad then. But now it's really gotten antediluvian. I can't remember names
too well.
So, what led to your teaching at Berkeley? That was 1964, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was at the Brookline Music School, and I got a call from one Richard Beverly Bobbitt, who wanted to know if I was interested to come in and interview for a possible teaching at Berkeley College of Music, at Berkeley School of Music. And I said sure, so I went, and I had an interview with Dick Bobbitt, and then I had an interview with Bob Scher, and I was hired on the spot to be the second classical teacher they had. Classical is their word for it, yeah. And Bill Maloof had been there they got him the year before, and then I came the year after. And the two of us taught everything in the whole program and set up most of the programs, most of which are still there now, between us. And I found out Dick Bobbitt didn't like Pistons' book at all. He was already not to hire me because I was a student of Pistons, the Pistons Harmony book. He thought it was awful.
So which book did he prefer? Which theory book?
I had no idea.
Do you know how they heard about you, John? Did somebody recommend you? Or do you know?
Let's see if I can find that. I'm trying to remember. No, I didn't know Bill at the time. I don't know. Somebody must have been talking to Bob and mentioned me. I don't know who.
So to backtrack a little bit, at the Brookline Music School, John Corley was involved with that as well, right?
Well, he was the director because he was the director of music in Brookline.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So what did you teach at the Brookline Music School?
Nothing. I was the registrar. I did the bills and all of the stuff of running a music school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Did John
and I was so happy to get that job because I could leave Rivers. I shouldn't say that, but it got very boring teaching those kids. They paid well, but
at the River School, were you the conductor of the orchestra? Or
well, I formed a chorus, but they didn't have enough people to have an orchestra. But I did form a chorus. That was one of the reasons they hired me. And we had a good group. I was there for several years. They used to be in Brookline, then they moved out to Weston, where they are now.
Right.
While I was there.
I think we'll end the program or the discussion today talking a little bit more about John Corley, and I'll have some other questions in the next interview about him. But it goes without saying that John Corley was a significant colleague and friend. He wrote pieces for him in the MIT concert band, including a piece called Corley's March, which was the last piece he conducted at his final concert on May 1st, 1999. Can you talk about John as a conductor and as a musician? I know there's a lot there. I know that's a broad question, but
well, anyone any contemporary composer that John Corley come in contact with, I mean, he was our champion. He did everything. He didn't have any preconceived notions about what was good and bad, and he sometimes did some pieces that I can't imagine why he did them, but they were new. And they were written for him, and he did them. And he could make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. I tell you, he could get the most god-awful piece and get some music out of it. And that's what he did with my stuff. I mean, he made it sound good. He was a great conductor because he got everything out of the music. He was and he loved the music. I mean, he loved the music. Yeah, he was. And Tom's piece, The Black Sun, he loved that piece so much I was jealous. Yeah, I mean, I was his best friend. I knew that, but he really loved Tom's piece. It's a great piece. Thank you. Sylvia's piece, he loved that. And Alain's piece, boy, did he love those pieces. He loved contemporary music in a way that only somebody who's lived with it can get to know it so well. But he got everything out of those pieces. And only twice did I know him to let somebody else conduct because he couldn't stand the piece.
So talk about the conductor-composer relationship with him. When you wrote pieces for him, was there talk about kind of what that was like for you?
Well, as the years went by, he just told me to write the piece for next year. And I did. And basically, I mean, the festival symphony. He started out by wanting a piece for.
And that's Opus 51.
51, right? Yeah. He wanted a piece for piano and band. He wanted a piece for organ and band. He wanted a piece for chorus and band, and he wanted a piece with antiphonal brass and band. And so he asked me which one I would do, and I said I'll do the one with antiphonal brass, and I did that. And he had the brass and out in the corners of the hall, and Kaczyskas wrote the organ and band piece, and Maloof wrote the chorus and band. But then he didn't want it done or whatever. I don't know. Oh no, we had trouble with the conductor of the chorus. I haven't forgotten who it was. Klaus Liebmann?
Yeah.
Yeah, somehow he wouldn't let that happen. And piano and band, I don't know who ended up there. But anyway, he was always after new pieces, and he had this credo of never doing arrangements.
Right.
Yeah, which of course is, I mean, that made he and I immediate friends.
Well, he was a national leader in that movement among contraband conductors to do that.
Yeah. And for many years we had hopes of an Oxford Press MIT concert band library, but it never came to fruition.
I think he had mentioned that, yeah. Did you also write the music for Mallet's Percussion, Opus 55, for John Corley?
Yeah.
How about the Suite Number 2, Opus 60?
Suite number 2, Opus 60, Suite number 1.
Or is that number 1? Well, then the information that we have here is wrong. It says number 2 on the...
Oh, yeah. It's...
Okay, I will correct
No, wait a minute. The Opus 60 is Suite number 3. Number 1 is Opus 19.
Right.
Number 2 is Opus 30-something.
Right, so that should be number 3 then.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, that's been wrong for years, yeah.
Okay.
No, he asked me to write that, yes, yeah. Every piece of concert band he asked me to write. Oh, except Band of the Year, that the Massachusetts commission.
Music educators?
Yeah,
Is that
they asked me to write that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. They had a conflict. They wanted they had that band thing in what, 8 or 10 or 12 high schools played in one afternoon.
Oh,
yeah,
like a festival kind
yeah,
of thing.
Yeah. That's the only piece I ever wrote that John didn't say write it for me.
Uh-huh.
Did you write any solo trumpet music for him?
I wrote Icelandic Icelandic music. Is that what I called it? The piece that Greg Hopkins played with the concert band after John died. That what was left of it, you know. Do you know about that group?
No.
Oh, they tried to survive. I don't know if they're still surviving, but the department wouldn't support them, and so they.
So which group is this?
Well, they call themselves the MIT Concert Band.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, right. I know what's okay. I didn't know which group you're referring to. Their concert band has still continued, but there's now the MIT Wind Ensemble.
Which is the official one,
right.
Which is a funded one. The other one,
right? But I was asking about a solo trumpet piece.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
For the MIT Concert Band.
Okay.
After John died.
Yeah.
They wrote me to write a piece in commemoration of Corley, and it was done a couple of years ago. And with Greg Hopkins played it.
Yeah. But you didn't. But when John was alive, you didn't write any.
No, he didn't. I wrote a piece for 2 trumpets, chorus, and string orchestra when Bill Seymour conducted the Cecilia Society, and John Corley and Jake Newton played the 2 trumpet parts. But that's the only solo thing I wrote. He was a hell of a trumpet player. He could really.
I was
play.
just going to ask.
He could play anything. He was really good. Oh.
Did you hear him play a lot?
I heard him play.
Do you have any
lot.
recordings of him as a trumpet player? There's one that he loaned me, but he was kind of past his prime, and it was a kind of a slow piece. But it would be really great to hear a piece.
Well, I have the 3 Psalms with him and Jake Newton, and there's a clam on it that he owes me.
Wow! Is there any way I could?
I'd be delighted.
I would, and if maybe the library could make a copy and.
It's been transferred to CD. I'll see if I can get somebody to copy it for you.
This clarinetist Sherman Friedland wrote a really interesting and moving tribute to John Corley. It's actually on the web, describing him as a trumpet player, describing him as a virtuoso trumpet player. And I have to take his account seriously because Sherman was no mean clarinetist himself. And
Sherman was a wonderful player, and Sherman went to high school when Brookline High when John was there.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's because of John that I knew Sherman so well, because I had no reason to know him otherwise.
Right.
And I wrote many pieces for Sherman.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's
Including
that
the one
recording that he did that has your clarinet and piano sonata, and it has a piece by you on there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did the second clarinet concerto, Opus 87. I did for Sherman and John Corley, for the MIT Concert Band.
So which piece is this again?
That my clarinet concerto number 2 is for concert band and clarinet.
I was just going to ask, because in Sherman's website he mentions a clarinet concerto that he played, and there was some concert in Florida.
That's it.
And around the shuttle.
We were watching the Challenger go up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was actually, that's not an arrangement of your earlier concerto.
No. It's a completely different piece. And Sherman played it, I don't know how many times with the concert band. I could find out. I got a record of it.
No, Sherman never went to MIT.
No.
Right.
No.
Okay. It seems like obviously he knew him in Brookline, but it seems like there was an ongoing professional relationship.
No, he kept. Sherman was part of our entourage, forever. When he went up to Montreal to teach at Concordia, it sort of, it didn't disappear, but it didn't become so frequent. We used to see each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But he got to be chairman of the department. John went up there and conducted the Concordia Orchestra one time as a guest conductor. And I went up there and many times I did a piece of mine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think this is a good place to stop. And for the next interview, I want to get into more details about your music and some other issues about contemporary music, but it would be a chance to really talk and your interest in Bartók and the course you taught on Bartók chamber music. So we can get more into to detail there. I think this is a good place to stop.
I think one other thing, we're talking about how John Corley was such an advocate for contemporary composers. Well, this gentleman right here, a lot of composers in Boston owe an awful lot to John Bavicchi, who has introduced us to other to performers and conducted our music and with his choruses. So I think that would be something to explore too. John's assistance for us.
Yeah, and also want to ask you more the next interview about your work as a choral conductor and your choral music, and also, is there a way I could get a recording to listen to and maybe a score of a couple of your vocal pieces? I've only have recordings of instrumental music,
sure.
and Tom says that your vocal music is quite different. But if
sure,
there's a way that we could get that would be
easy.
That would give me, so I could ask some more intelligent questions for the next interview there.
Sure.
But this has just been fantastic. I really want to thank you for your generosity today, and I'm looking forward to this next.
Got it backwards.